How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the first ever look at Matrix 1. This is a new boss in the game, a new guild boss called Zerbis. So this is within the Titanic runes. So technically this is Guild Boss 2 content, and you can see the way we have Apocalypse 1 and Apocalypse 2 and we're fighting Semra. This is a new challenge within the Titanic ruins theme and the boss is named Zerbis. For now, I'm going to call this Guild Boss 3, but I do believe we'll all refer to this as Matrix 1, the same way we refer to Abyss 1 as Abyss 1 and not a piece of Guild Boss 1 content or Guild Boss 3. It's kind of its own thing. It's the new hardest version of Titanic runes. In certain ways, it's similar to Apocalypse 1 and Apocalypse 2 with Semra. In many other ways, it is not. The key thing you need to know. Let's start with the good. This is very interesting content. It is a tremendous challenge, and it will unlock some characters who have both never before been used in permanent boss content, so that is very exciting, and it will unlock or unveil or reintroduce characters that have been completely out of the meta for mid-game, late game, and certainly end game for a very long time. So a character like Zerbis, especially after his buff, will be tremendously strong for this content. That is exciting. Potentially Cratch could be really good for the physical version of this content. We'll break all that down. However, before we jump into an actual run, and I will do a magic run with you in the Bulwark form, this is the team we're going to use. By the way, this is live on the test server currently and the Forerunner server. I'm currently live on Behemoth's account. Shout out to my boy Chris. This is a Forerunner account, so I'm able to demo here. Thank you, sir. But before we get into that actual run, I want to talk about the bad. And this is the bad. So with the introduction of Semra, we instantly got Apocalypse 1 and Apocalypse 2. Now, what is the difference between Apocalypse 1 and Apocalypse 2? There is no difference at all in the actual techniques, in the actual content, in the tactical way you approach Semra. The only difference is Apocalypse 1 is a lot easier than Apocalypse 2, but it is functionally identical content. The one difference is in Apocalypse 1, it's not as difficult. They have not totally maxed out Semra's stats. They have not cranked him up to 11. And in Apocalypse 2, at least when it came out, he was fully cranked up. It was very, very difficult. Now, general things in the game have made us strong enough that Apocalypse 2 is a lot more manageable for almost every account. But in general, it is the same piece of content. The one difference being we have an easy mode and a hard mode. As you can see here, we got a brand new boss in the form of Zerbis. However, we only got Matrix 1. And I want to get this out of the way right now. So many people are going to hate this.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
Matrix 1 should be Matrix 2 or 3, and instead Matrix 1 should be like Apocalypse 1, and it should be a very easy version of identical content. Matrix 1 currently, in this current incarnation, is so immensely difficult. It is unbelievably difficult, and I will prove that to you now with some of the leaderboards currently live on Forerunner. But I've got to say, I want to get this out in the beginning of the video, and I am going to submit this to Moonton. Please, before you launch this content on Global, because it is good content, but I promise it will be met with enormous backlash, consider making Matrix 1 Matrix 2 and then introducing a new Matrix 1 that is half the difficulty, if not a quarter the difficulty of the current Matrix 1. So to recap, make Matrix 1 Matrix 2 and make a new Matrix 1 that is the same content but so much easier. Because boy, let me tell you, this is mind-numbingly difficult. It is, I can't overhype it enough how many of you will not be able to participate in this content at all, even for the lowest chest. Now, why is that? Well, laughably, the highest chest over here at reward number 10 is 320,000 mech fragments. What do you think the world leaderboard right now is on the Forerunner server? Keep in mind, this total score is the combined score between the mech fragments you earn against the Bulwark form, this is the magic DPS form where you need to bring your magic damage dealers, and the total mech fragments you earn against the purple Spellbane form, the physical DPS form where you bring your physical damage dealers. So with that in mind, what do you think is the highest score anyone on Forerunner has earned? Well, here you go. The top chest is 320k, and the current highest score in the world rankings is Hoshkar out of Russia, coming in with just under 52,000 mech fragments. He's nearly at 40k against the magic form, and he's not even at 15k, not even 14k, with 13,785 mech fragments against the physical DPS form. This is not the highest ever. The top account on Forerunner is Lewis. He has not done his runs this week. However, you can see with his runs last week, on his first ever best attempts, he reached almost 69,000. So he's at 46, nearly 47,000 mech fragments against the magic form, and not even 22,000 mech fragments against the physical DPS form. He is just about 1/5 of the way. This is the strongest account on the Forerunner server. Many people would say that. And he is 1/5 of the way to the top chest. Now, I'm not saying this content needs to be introduced and the best players can instantly max it. However, being 4/5 of the way off is crazy, especially when there is not a mirrored, easier mode. This needs to be Matrix 2 or 3, and then we need a Matrix 1 or 2 below it that are so much easier, because so many people will not be able to engage with this content at all. And that is for 2 reasons. Let's start here on the world leaderboards. You might be thinking, wow, 69k for the best. That's not that good. 10th place is at 40k. That's crazy. 2/3 of the top score. If we go all the way down to just normal accounts, right? The top 30, Forerunner's not as big as global, but these are just not god accounts. They're just exceptionally good accounts. Still very good. I mean, look at these awakenings. A5 Ingrid, A5 Sung Wukong, so on and so on. We're talking 22k. 22k. 6.4k on the Bulwark form and 15.6k on the physical DPS form. This is the 30th best result so far this week on the Forerunner server. Less than 1/10 of the way to the max chest. If there was an easier mode, I think a lot of people could stomach this, but let me tell you, there is not. There is only this insanely difficult mode. And let me tell you the most frustrating part that is gonna make people rage quit out of this content and maybe out of Watcher Realms in general. You cannot even have the option to save your score if your 2 scores you put up do not add up to over 8k. Now, what does this mean? Your first score that you're able to save and log must be over 8k, because it will be added to your other score, which currently is 0. And that score will never be able to be saved unless it's also over 8k. So you cannot save your first score until one of your keys against physical or magic is 8k or higher. And so many players, 99% of players will not be able to do this. And a lot of you won't be able to do it for a long time at this current difficulty. Once you get that 8k, then your second key against the other form can be lower. As you saw with that one account I just showed, it was like 6.6k or whatever with a 14k. That's cool, but oh my God, it's for like a percentage of players. This is not a good look, Moonton. Please, for the love of God, keep this, but make this the 2nd or 3rd difficulty, and please make a far easier difficulty. Cover your own ass, Moonton. Do not enrage the player base. When this goes live on Global, make sure you're introducing 2 difficulties and make sure the first one can be maxed out by at least 10 or 20% of players, and make sure at least 50% of players can participate in it immediately, and the other 50% can be looking forward to it in the near future, or at least view it as a reasonable goal. Because right now, Matrix 1 is a completely unreasonable goal, and it will make people quit this game. This is good content. You're about to see it. But oh my God, it is so hard. So many people will never engage with it. So you're not helping the game. You're going to offend the player base instead of emboldening them to take on a new challenge, because I'm telling you, 95, 98, 99, 99.8% of these players will not be able to honestly engage with this content. Some people not at all, and other people not well at all. So, Lewis, I showed that score, right? You're like, all right, how good is he really? Is he as good as global players, 69k, when the top chest is 320k? Is he really that good? Answer, yes. Lewis is one of the top couple players in the entire world, regardless of server. He is in the same guild as Behemoth, and you can see here, Lewis casually puts up 95k plus blood against Abyss 1 in, of course, just a single attempt. He can do a lot higher than that. This is just his daily casual completion. I can't say for certain because I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure he's broken 100K, and if not, he's gotten tremendously close. If we look at the world rankings, he is the top player on Forerunner, and he would be a top player without a doubt on any other server, including global. This is a pretty godlike account, and currently, he's getting less than a quarter of the way to the top chest in the new content. So I know I've been on a bit of a rant and you haven't even seen the content for Zerbis yet, but I had to get this out of the way because holy crap, Moonton, do not put your foot straight in your mouth. Get your shoe out of your mouth. Seriously, do not blow this. This is good content, but we need a much easier version. So let's do the content. We'll go over rewards after because I think that's not relevant to a lot of players. But what does this actually look like? I'm going to make a lot of content on this once it goes live on global, but this video is meant to give you an introduction to what this looks like so you can already start thinking about what kind of units you want to bring from your own specific roster. So as I said, there are two forms, the Bulwark form and the Spellbane form. The yellow form, as you might imagine, requires magic DPS. The purple form requires physical DPS. In every other way, these are identical. You just need a magic team to take on this boss, and then the boss does the exact same team in the other form. You just need a physical team. So let's just go through one battle and go through one set of skills because every single skill is identical except for the second skill here. Because when you're fighting the magic form, the physical damage immunity barrier makes it so any physical damage dealt to the boss will be fixed at 10. That is not 10% of normal damage, that is 10 ticks of damage, aka nothing. If we then switch over here from Zerbis to the little jellyfish he summons, these living bombs, it is the same story. When you're fighting the Bulwark form, they also have physical damage immunity barrier. They cannot take more than 10 ticks of damage when any physical damage is dealt. This is the same story for the Spellbane form, just with magic damage. You need to bring physical damage against this form because they have magic damage immunity barrier for both Zerbis and the jellyfish, only 10 ticks of damage if you're dealing magic damage, so you really need the appropriate damage type, magic for yellow, physical for purple, and you can also bring a little true damage. However, ignoring defense or ignoring magic resistance, if it's the wrong kind of damage, will still result in only 10 damage. So please be cognizant of that. Now let's break down the fight as fast as I can, and then let's head right in, because that will be the easiest way for you to see what this boss is all about. You will see when it comes to Zerbis, he has control immunity. You cannot CC him, only slows work. However, against his summons, there is no such CC immunity. So you can absolutely slow these guys down, freeze them, control them. That is very, very key, I would say, because these guys move pretty fast and you want to prevent them from reaching Zerbis. Now, why is that? How does Zerbis work? Well, you can see these little circles here on the sides. These are called rift gates. Right when Zerbis starts the battle, he will open 2 rift gates, one on either side, and they are going to let the jellyfish come through. TLDR, kill these jellyfish as fast as possible. There will be some specific strategies in terms of when to kill these exactly, but when you're getting into it, when you're learning, when I'm displaying it now, you just want to be killing these. Because as they reach Zerbis, if we look at his 2 DPS moves, he has Annihilation Pulse and Chain Fission. Let's start with Chain Fission. This is a big instance of AoE damage against all of our units. It hits the entire battlefield, and he's going to place vulnerabilities on everyone. Based on the quantity of summons that reach Zerbis and he can then absorb, or that are still on the battlefield when the timer for the AoE move Chain Fission is about to go off expires, they will also be absorbed, and that will increase the AoE damage he is able to deal. So you want to kill these guys as quickly as possible. On top of that, if you're not killing them fast enough, he can keep opening more and more rift gates. Up to 2 additional rift gates can be opened at a time. Every time he's promoted, you can have a maximum of 6 total open. However, if you can kill all these guys fast enough before he can open more gates, he's just going to summon more units out of the same gates. Every time you clear all the enemies coming out of the gates, he will lose 40% of his health. So if you do this twice, he's lost 80% of his health. Then you just need to deal 20% more damage to his health, and he will go to an unyielding state. By the way, whenever you're dealing damage to the jellyfish, you are also dealing damage to him. You can deal direct damage to him, but the vast majority of damage, because this is AoE content, will come from dealing damage to the jellyfish. So what happens when you get that 100% HP gone and he goes into that unyielding state? Well, he's going to enter a timer here. And this move, this period, is called Relentless Evolution. Each time Titan triggers unyielding, this is when you delete his entire HP bar and he's at 0%, he will immediately enter something called the Emergency Recharge Protocol state. Now, once that's over, he is going to go through an evolution, he evolves, he permanently enhances all his attributes, and you're in the next stage. You're on to the next chapter of the fight. You can think of it like that. But what is that emergency recharge protocol state? Well, you can see it down here. This is a vulnerable state, a weakened state. It will last as long as you can keep units from reaching him. The minimum duration of this vulnerable state is 10 seconds. If you can permanently hold off all his summons from reaching him while he's in that vulnerable weakened state, it will last up to 30 seconds. You can hold them off by killing them and or crowd controlling them. Undoubtedly, you'll have to do both. And you'll see once the time expires, it doesn't say it here, but it seems to be 30 seconds or sufficient minions, a certain number of summons have reached him. I believe it's 20. Then the weakened state is lifted, and then he has his promotion, his evolution, and the full enhancement. This gives you basically all the pieces of information you need to know about the fight. There are just a couple other DPS moves and a couple other restrictions on our team. So let's start with the other AoE move. This is going to be Annihilation Pulse. He deals AoE damage twice to all the enemies on the battlefield, and he places a debuff on us called Energy Erosion. They then say Energy Erosion is the number of Energy Erosion stacks increased with the Titan phase, blah, blah, blah. This can be dispelled, but it doesn't tell us what Energy Erosion is. This is a permanent stack of poison. However, it can be cleansed off, it can be dispelled, so you will want some kind of cleanser. It's kind of tricky, but that's what it is. They don't define it here. It is a permanent stack of poison. It is doing damage over time based on your ally's max HP. It can be dispelled though, so a dispeller is very clutch. And then the very important, I'd say the most important DPS move he has is called Focus Strike. So this is where you need a really good tank, and this is where everyone is currently hitting a wall. This is the biggest reason why an account as good as Lewis's is getting stuck at like 70k, not even. Focus Strike. This move is going to lock on to the hero with the highest max HP, so for sure your tank, and after charging for a short period, deals one instance of massive single target damage. Very quickly, this damage turns into like 70,000 damage, equal to like basically most of your HP. Immediately after, it is going to place an undispellable debuff that deals extremely high damage every 2 seconds. Typically, this is about 2 ticks of damage, and again, it's like 70,000 plus damage. It's pretty freaking absurd. So you need someone very tanky, and very quickly, once he's evolved a couple times, it seems like there's no way to mitigate this right now. The final 2 things we have to cover before we head into battle are going to be 2 more restrictions on our team. There is a redeploy penalty. So normally your average hero, if they are retreated from the battlefield or they die, their redeployment will take 60 seconds. There are obviously a couple exceptions in the game, but the average hero at 60 seconds. For this, every time a hero dies or is retreated, the redeployment time is increased by 30 seconds. So the first time that happens, it's 90, then it's 120, so on and so on. It is incredibly hard to get someone back out if they die. If someone dies, it's spelling the beginning of the end for your run. At least that's very likely. The second thing is, he kind of nerfs heroes' abilities to have unyielding effects or death immunity. You can see when a hero triggers death immunity or unyielding, their rage and attack will be reduced for some amount of time. The rage reduction is pretty significant, and it's kind of hard to come back around with an ult, maybe a good shield for your tank, something like that. But there you have it. This is what we're dealing with. A very cool fight. However, you are going to see this is so overtuned that even this absolute god squad over here on Behemoth's account, a true behemoth of a team that we're bringing in with almost 1.1 million BP, incredibly meta units, excellent awakenings, and shockingly good gear. Let's start with this A1 Valara. I'm not going to show you everyone, but I mean quad, flat attack, amazing quad, flat attack, amazing quad, flat attack, amazing quad. This is the quality of gear on this account. This account is over 1,000 days old. It is a god tier Forerunner account. Even with all this, it does not take that long for it to hit the fan. We'll bleep that out, mind my language. But you get it. Let's start and let's actually see what a battle looks like, all right? So let's head in. Let's see. Let's go right in. Let's go fight. Let's begin. I said let's begin twice. I'm nervous. The fight it's going to kick our butt. My personal best score is 25k. I believe Behemoth's best score is about 26k. So let's see if I can beat him here. Probably not. I'm basically copying his strategy. I barely moved gear around. Let's kick it off. So first things first, we're going to place Valara here. Now we got Narissa in Invigoration. She's going to go there. This way she can cover our entire team as well. Then we got Ingrid here pointed to the left. Now we got A1 Draylin, Excellent Awakening, also in Invig. So that is getting placed over there on our Ingrid. I'm going to make myself a bit smaller. Then you can see I'm actually going to place Morrigan now because she's the only other unit that's going to be able to receive an Invig buff. That will make sense in a second. Then Beelzebub pointed to the left. We get Honora here pointed to the left. We get Regulus pointed up, so he has something to hit, aka the boss, and he can get a little extra rage. We got Virna here, and then we've got Kratos here. So let's take one quick moment. Again, this is not a strategy guide. This is just an introduction to the fight so you can see the mechanics. But we only have one inspiration hero. It's Beelzebub, and he's not touching 3 of our units. I bet you, I'm certain, more optimal strategies will be discovered and things like that. But for now, at least with how far we can make it into the battle, Valara A1 is so strong, Kratos is pretty good, and then Virna's executes so strong that they don't seem to need inspiration. The other side benefits more. I think there's an argument maybe I could move or switch Honora and Virna, since Honora doesn't benefit from inspiration and Virna does. But for now, I'm sticking with Behemoth's comp. He worked hard on this, so let us begin. He has one of the higher magic scores in the entire game right now on the entire Forerunner server. Let's start triggering. Again, certainly will be more finesse to this in the future. But for now, you see we've got the 2 gates open. We've got a good amount of crowd control and a great amount of DPS. If we think about crowd control, we got Beelzebub, we got Valara, we got Honora. Very, very good stuff. And we want to kill these guys as quickly as possible, get this settled, and then you'll see the HP dropping off of his meter when we can clear this whole wave. We get a nice execute there from Virna. She takes out basically that whole side. We take out the other side, and boom, he dropped 40%, right? So now he drops down to 60. Let's get a damage boost and some damage mitigation from an Aelin ult. We're going to ult there with Kratos. Wait for 3 bars here. Maybe we can get some damage on the boss. We can. Now he drops from 60 to 20. Really, the only way we're dealing before the vulnerability is by taking out these mobs, and even after, it basically will be by taking out these mobs. You can see the debuff on us. This is the permanent stack of damage over time. It lasts permanently, so you need to dispel it. Let's get a dispel there with Narissa. And we're kind of off to the races. Here comes the Annihilation Pulse, so that's the big hit on Regulus. You can see already how hard it was hitting, and this is where you want to take advantage. This bar will last 30 seconds. It will be reduced as more units reach him, so we want to be killing these units, and you'll see we're reaching the end of the first stage with 37-35. If we can hold these guys off, we should be able to pump this number a good bit, hopefully over like 6k. We take those guys out. He's got this big vulnerability on him. Reduces he's got all this stuff I wanted to show you really quickly. Weakened state, 50% increased damage from everything, physical and magic. I guess everything but true damage, but we can really unload and get some extra stuff. Let's get a Kratos ult to trigger the Lord skill. Unfortunately, it looks like a couple of these guys are just going to reach. One guy reached. This is basically the fight. It's kind of mayhem. You can see this is Rift 3 and Rift 4. They are now open. You can see it's going lower and lower as more guys are getting through. And unfortunately, we end there, but just about 6k. My first one, I got about 6,700, so that definitely wasn't my best, but wasn't that bad. Enough for you to get a sense here. And you'll see now he has 1 stack of evolution. That's what this marker is. I call this stage 2. Normally I'd call it phases, but the phases are happening within a stage, so we'll just call it stage 2. All his attributes are boosted, and instantly you're going to see how much harder it is. And by the time he has 2 of these, after the next evolution, we're kind of SOL. So you can see his attacks increased by 30%. The HP is increased by 50%. I probably could have held off on the Honora ult there. That was a little sloppy of me. We will hold off on this Valara ult. Wait till the next bunch comes out. Here comes a focus strike. This is the big single target hit. And look how hard they're going to hit our Regulus. I timed out the Draylin to help. Huge hit as well on Draylin. I actually wonder if Draylin has higher HP with these builds. Can't imagine, but it is possible. Now we're going to ult with, we're going to wait till Praetus is at 100. This is a little sweaty already. Ult with Praetus, then do the button, then do Valara. Get a cleanse with Narissa. See, we're taking these out. We're up to 9K. If we can get to 20K, I'm happy. 25 would be awesome, but if we can get to at least a little higher. No, that was Regulus here. Yeah, of course. So it was Regulus getting hit, and you can see here's another focus strike. It's unbelievable how hard he gets hit, and this is with all the bonuses from all the mitigations from Draylin and all the focus he's getting from Narissa. Even still, it doesn't look good. There's an ult with Virna. Regulus holds on. Okay, we get to the Relentless Evolution state, so if we can hold off here, hopefully Valara's still ulting when these guys come out. She's not, so that's not good, but we can rack up a lot of damage. This is the weakened vulnerability mode. We really want to unload here. I think eventually we'll get the builds refined, the timings refined. Everyone's going to learn a bunch more about this stage, myself included. We can find a way to save so many of the ults for these in-betweens. I'm assuming someone like Lewis is already doing that, but obviously I've fairly limited experience in this game mode. But yeah, there's a lot of room for optimization. Enough optimization to get you to 320K? Absolutely not. And we'll talk about that right after the battle when I kind of get to my concluding thoughts. There's a big point I'm working up towards, and anyone that knows me probably can guess what that's going to be. So that's the end of stage 2. We're at 13.5K. Pretty good, but not that awesome. He absorbs there. Now he has been promoted. If we take a little peek, a nightmarish increase of 60% attack and 100% HP. Truly awful. Let's ult with Draylin there for a little damage boost. See if we can hold off with Narissa at least for a moment. Got the stacks of poison out. Now it's 2 stacks. It's corresponding to the number of evolutions, right? Here's Annihilation Pulse. I think we are going to have to... Let's see if we can wait on the ult there. It'd be ideal if we could. All right, we can. Now we're going to ult with Narissa. Oh, I was slightly late, so now he just replaced it. That was a Waking Nightmare. I missed it by like a quarter second. Let's get an ult with Virna to clean that up. Here comes the Focus Strike, and already it is possible that Regulus might get destroyed. And he does, and that's kind of what we're looking at. I'll show you the Regulus build after this, just so you can see. It is a shockingly strong Regulus, and it does not seem to matter. I should have done Praetus before his button there, but you guys get it. The run's kind of is what it is at this point, once Regulus dies. And now the run's falling apart. And you can see you need to keep your tank alive, and it is so difficult to do that. So obviously, the better accounts and the better technique, you can get farther. Lewis basically doubles this, right? But can you get from 40K to the 160K you'd need to have half of it from one mode? There's no way. There is no way. I do wish I had a better showing here in the video. I should have recorded my 25K. You never know, but we'll let this fall apart a little bit. Maybe we get 22, 23K. I'm just going to keep it on auto right now. But there you have it. I'll show you all the DPS, but the big point I wanted to make is the tools do not currently exist in the game to beat this. They absolutely do not. So we can refine this and get better. Like I said, my previous run was 25K. Behemoth's done something over that, 26K, something like that. You know, Lewis is up at 40K just for this one mode, but it's not even close. It's not even in the realm of possibility. So where does that leave us? Well, I will tell you. They are going to have to introduce new content, new ways to boost our characters, or push a lot of new units. And that's what I'm so worried about, especially if there's not an easy mode where people can participate in this content without having to take on something this difficult. You know, in spite of having a truly disgustingly endgame account, you know, Behemoth has broken 80K on Abyss 1 before with this account, and here we are at 22K. Unless something drastically changes or they give us an easier mode, the only way currently people can, with any speed, improve at this and get closer to the 320K top chest is going to be through the introduction of new units that are designed around this that players have to get really lucky summoning for or spend money on. And that's basically that. I did want to point out quickly, this is the damage, and you can see Valara and Ingrid, wouldn't you know it, they're the queens. But Morgan over here, kind of awesome at this content, and that is a key positive, especially if they make the easier mode. There are a lot of hidden gems. Cratch is going to be very good at this. Beatrix is going to be excellent at this. Zealous is excellent at this already. A lot of people using him, especially with some awakenings. There are a lot of units that can come out. There's a lot of possibilities. Behemoth and I were talking about this. He pointed out there's a lot of epics that might be good. Maybe you want to use a Lygia for certain content where you need another Arbiter Lord for the physical damage mode, right? Going with your Erlong Shen and stuff like that. She might be getting play as an epic. Olog could be a very good tank for this. Baron might be able to tank for this. There's a lot of units. Maul could be a very good option. We do think this content will enable the use and facilitate the freedom from the proverbial vault of many heroes that are kind of neglected in late and endgame content currently. However, in its current incarnation, with this being the only incarnation, it is so difficult. It is way too difficult. And they are setting it up that they're going to introduce some new Northerner team, some new type of team like the Poison team for Abyss 1 that everyone has to rush and go get, and people are going to spend thousands of dollars on, and some people are going to hit, and some people are going to miss, and a lot of people are going to quit the game. So there's a lot of good here, but there is a lot of bad. Moonton, I hope you take this video seriously. I hope you watch the whole thing. I can't imagine you will, but if you did, that would be awesome. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. A final giant thank you to Chris, aka Behemoth. Oh, and one more thing. I did want to show you the rewards. Very good. No soul stones. No soul stones. No soul stones. No souls. I can't even speak. It's driving me crazy. On average, the normal player is getting 3, maybe 4 unpolished soul stones a year. The unlucky player is getting 1 or 2. The lucky player is getting way too many, but it is not enough to cover the amount of new units that keep needing awakenings for content that is way too hard. Moonton, freaking do something. Guys, that has been Zerbis, aka Matrix 1, hopefully soon to be called Matrix 2 or 3. Give us an easier version. Thank you guys. Share with your mother, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.